Meanwhile, more than 5,000 Ethiopians in the United States are losing the legal protection that has allowed them to live and work there without fear of deportation. While a federal judge has cleared the way for the Trump administration to end their temporary protected status, part of a wider rollback affecting several African countries. Ethiopians are not alone. The U.S. has recently moved to end TPS for nationals of Somalia and South Sudan, whilst protections for Cameroon have also been targeted. TPS is granted for people who fled their home countries due to extraordinary events, including natural disasters and armed conflict. Ethiopia was added to this list by the Biden administration. This is back in 2022, following armed conflict, including the Tigray War. Diana Konaté is the Deputy Executive Director for African Communities Together, a US-based advocacy group for diasporans. This is what she told me.
TPS, temporary protected status, is a form of humanitarian protection in the U.S. that the government will give to a country, a designation that the government will give to a country when conditions in that country are unsafe for people to return to. So Ethiopia has been designated for TPS since after the war in Tigray started. And the termination of that designation and that protection for the Ethiopian population living in the U.S. Basically puts thousands of people at risk.
What options would you say these Ethiopian nationals now have should they lose TPS protections?
Sure. Well, I mean, every individual is different. Once TPS protection ends, it doesn't automatically make people with that status undocumented. What the end of TPS means is that people revert back to the status they had prior to TPS protection. And so what we've been encouraging Ethiopian TPS holders and other TPS holders who have recently lost their status as well is to get in touch with a licensed immigration attorney to determine what types of options they have, outside of TPS to remain in the U.S. lawfully.
What reason did the courts give as to why they lifted TPS protections? Just walk us through what's been going on in the courts.
Recently, the Supreme Court ruled that part of our arguments, the argument that we had in front of the courts, that DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, did not follow a proper procedure when terminating TPS. The Supreme Court said that that argument cannot be brought before the court. So as a result of that, the lower court, where our case was, had to strip that out of our case. And that was what was postponing the termination and protecting Ethiopian TPS holders. And that is the reason why the lower court had to lift our stay and deny our postponement because of the Supreme Court's decision. I mean, the case continues. We had two arguments in front of the courts. One, that the decision to terminate TPS for Ethiopia was based on racial animus. And then the second one, which the court had to throw out.